The game has been out for a bit globally now, so people have started to discover what the meta is in terms of what decks to play. One of the cards that has been a standout so far in the game is the Misty card. She is being played in a bunch of water decks and has been in the center of attention when it comes to the luck aspect of the game. There has been a lot of screenshots floating around of insane Misty flips with 10 plus heads in a row. But also, some people complaining that they were getting a lot of tails in a row. So that got me thinking, is the coin for the Misty card actually fair? What exactly do we mean by a fair coin? A fair coin would be a coin that, when flipped, will result in a heads 50% of the time and in a tails the other 50% of the time. We're going to look at the so-called bias of the coin. The closer this value is to 1.0, the more the coin is biased towards heads, and the closer the bias is to zero point 0, the more it will be biased towards tails. If the coin is fair, it would have a bias of zero point 0.5, meaning half the time we would get heads, and the other half of the time we would get tails. In order to determine if the coin is fair or not, we will first need a bunch of data, though. So that means playing a lot of battles in the actual game and recording all the times I play the Misty card in a spreadsheet. So that is what I did. Luckily for me, there is an event going on, so I was not just playing for basically nothing. I got my 45 wins in the event pretty quickly this way, while also getting the data I needed. So when I started playing the card, I think I got fairly lucky. For a large portion of the times I played it, I got a minimum of 2 heads with every single play of the card, even getting one with 6 heads in a row. We can also see this in this following graph that I made of these first few flips. What we are looking at in this graph is the possible bias of the coin. The most probable bias of the coin here is the peak of the graph. This is based on the current throws of the coin. However, as we can also see, the graph is very chunky still. In order for us to be more certain about our bias, we need this graph to slim all the way down until it's not much more than just a straight line upwards. A measure to know when we are close to this point is to look at the so-called error of our data. In these first few cases, the error is still fairly large since our dataset is still incredibly small. Adding or subtracting this error to our current most probably bias gives us a very wide range of what the bias of the coin could actually still be. So we definitely need quite a bit more data. After playing the Misty card a total of 119 times, this is what the bias graph looks like right now. As you can see, the graph is a lot less thick and has shifted a lot more towards the center. That zero point 0.5 is not quite the most probably value here either, and I'm not yet sure if that is because I got so lucky at the start of this, or if this is actually due to the bias not being exactly zero point 0.5. At one point, I did think we were going to get to that zero point 0.5 bias, but then I got a Misty card with 4 or more heads again. The error, however, has become a lot smaller at this time. However, even after 259 flips of the coin, the error is still big enough that we can't really get any definitive bias for our coin just yet. The one thing I'm going to conclude from this is that the bias won't be something outlandishly big or small, like zero point 0.4 or zero point 0.6, though I would not be super surprised if it turns out to be just slightly above 0.5. All right, that's fun and all, but what about the most amount of heads that I got and all those fun kind of stats? Here's a graph showing you the times 0 heads, 1 heads, 2 heads, etc. occurred. Naturally, 0 heads is the one that will occur the most often. This is because if our coin would have a bias of zero point 0.5, that would mean that we would get 0 heads 50% of the time, while getting 1 heads or more the other 50% of the time. The most outlandish amount of heads I got in a row is currently 10. This actually happening has a whopping 0.0976% chance of happening. I am not fully satisfied yet with what I got here in terms of results, but it was already taking quite a long time to generate all these data points. My goal is to play the Misty card at least a total of 1,000 times, which I hope will net us a total amount of flips somewhere in the 2000s. Hopefully also giving us a bit of a better clue of what the actual value of the bias is, and to see if we can get some of the truly ridiculous head streaks. For now, this is all I have got for today. I'm really hoping with a lot more data points in the future, we will be able to more definitively say what the actual bias is of the coin. So if you want to see a video about this, make sure to subscribe and like the video.